Organizations in their awards programs recognize the things that are important to their organizations, and we recognize here tonight culture and marketing excellence and supplier support and performance as individual companies. We also have two other things. I have the pleasure of recognizing tonight leadership and giving back. A friend of mine is a pretty big time author, a fellow by the name of John C. Maxwell. If you ever read any of his books, if you haven't read any of his books, he's written like 8,000 books. John's pretty damn prolific. But I recommend it. And one of John's favorite quotes that he says is that everything in life comes down to leadership. It's just everything that we do or want to accomplish ultimately requires leadership. And it's a great pleasure here for me tonight to give a very special leadership award to the longest serving AD corporate board member in the history of our organization, Brian Peirce. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Brian. Hold on. So I met Brian back in 2006. Doug Young at Baylor Young and I were getting to know each other, and they had a group called the HVAC group, of which Doug was there and Bill Newland at Hercules at the time, and we started talking about the possibility of that group coming into AD and becoming the AD HVAC division. Flew out there and attended their meetings, and they had a relatively new member at the time, Peirce-Phelps, and Brian, seemed like a willing young man. And so they said, hey, Brian, you go work with Weisberg and see if you could put this deal together. So, he being in Philly and seeming eager, we sat down and started to develop, how it would work and all the different aspects of how it come together. And we actually hit it off right away. We had a lot in common. Fun fact, Brian's ancestors came over on the Mayflower. And my ancestors, by the way, were there cleaning the Mayflower when it came back to England. So we had so much in common, we hit it off right away. So we ended up putting that deal together. And I said, you guys get a seat on the AD board. And they said, well, Brian, why don't you go take it? You seem to get along with this guy. So this was back in 2006. And here we are in 2018, the longest serving member of our corporate board. Brian rolls off at the end of this year. And Brian has been a fantastic board member, not just as a good representative of HVAC, but as a encourager and as a steward, as a person that looks out for the interest of every member. And he has a mind that is incredibly impressive. I'll give you a couple of recent examples. So we had a meeting this past December, and we were talking about the fact that as AD has grown, we're going to have more divisions than we have seats on our board. So we're trying to figure out how that would work, where previously every division had a representative. What are we going to do in the future? So we're just sitting around at the board meeting, and I said to Brian, so what do you think? What would you, if we didn't have a seat for somebody from HVAC, what would it take for that division to be comfortable being well represented? So he sits there and he goes like 10 seconds, and he says, well, Bill, I think we would need to have like an annual meeting with maybe the chairman of our board, with you and your staff, and go through the company's financials. And I think we should probably meet with the AD board, and I think we should get an opportunity to report to the board all the different things that are happening in HVAC. And I'm just taking notes as fast as I can. And so those quick, off-the-cuff comments became what is now the chairman's counsel that we have created. It's just the kind of contribution that Brian makes. And I'll give you another example. So at this last meeting we had in August, Brian's last meeting, Brian is, we do a lot of different things at the board. And one of the things that we do is we talk about the investments and the policies, and we have a large treasury function, a part AD, that we use to cover our operating costs. So some members of the board are more comfortable dealing with the different issues associated with investment policy and the like. So I'm thinking Brian's pretty good at that. So I said, hey, Brian, so like this is your last meeting. Do you have some pearls of wisdom? And I'm thinking he's going to go, no, man, everything's cool. He goes, yeah, here's what I would tell you. Like, don't chase after absolute return. If you have an investment that's underwater and there's something better, sell it, even if it's a loss, so you can put the money into something else. And by the way, keep managing your expenses so they're low in order to keep them in line with your investment income. And I'm like, could you repeat that part after don't chase? What was that you were saying? I mean, the guy is impressive. He's also incredibly humble. He cares about our members. He cares about the suppliers. He cares about our staff. And it has been a tremendous pleasure and an honor to have you on the AD Board of Directors. Brian, we are going to miss you terribly. Ladies and gentlemen, the AD Leadership Award, Brian Peirce.
First, I want to thank my team back at Peirce-Phelps for allowing me to have the time by holding down the fort back at home to go and actually participate on the AD board. And the honor has been mine to serve on the AD board and to be a voice for the HVAC group in AD. It's, I was looking at it, and over the many years, I've actually read over 10,000 pages of AD board reports. So I've gotten to know the business very well, and I'll tell you that the hype is true and that they walk the talk. AD is an excellent company with a wonderful culture that is truly dedicated to the long-term success of independent distributors and to making sure we are the channel of choice for each and every one of our manufacturing partners that are in this room. AD's changed a lot in the 10 years that I've been a board member. We've more than doubled in size. We've grown organically. We've grown through acquisition. We've expanded into new markets like Mexico. And we developed great new services like e-commerce, the HR services, and procurement. The board work was often challenging, but I'll tell you, it was always rewarding and always enjoyable. It was a great group of people that worked as a team to find unique solutions to problems and to take advantage of the opportunities that were given us. I'm just humbled by this whole operation. I will tell you one thing, I've learned so much from Bill and from the other members of the AD board, they're great leaders, and from the AD management team. I've learned much more than I've ever given. And I will tell you that in all the years, this year, the board accomplished its greatest work. And while I'm up here, I have to, and I don't think anybody's done this yet, I have to take the opportunity to thank Bill, Russ Visner, and the special committee of the AD board for really doing the hard work of actually formalizing AD's governance rules and accelerating the transition to being a member-owned organization. It's fantastic. We're now owners. AD has been a key element of Peirce-Phelps' success since the first day we joined, and it's wonderful and gratifying to know that the foundation has now been laid for the future success of AD and all our companies much, much longer into the future. This is awesome. Thank you and very much appreciated. Have a great night.